A young man falls in love with a vampire woman when he sees her changing clothes in her house, watching secretly through the window. The story progresses from there, but before we continue, please subscribe to the channel. The movie opens with a man lying in bed making love with his girlfriend Diana. Suddenly, he wakes up and realizes he's alone. It was just a dream. The young man's name is Cameron, and he's currently on summer vacation. His father scolds him, asking what plans he has for studying during the break. Before Cameron can answer, his mother Carol interrupts, saying, "Summer vacation has just started, don't pressure him so much." But his father reminds them that Cameron already had time off, and now he wants to know what his son is planning for his future. He gives him 3 weeks to figure out his life. Cameron works at an ice cream shop, and when he gets there, the manager Lenny yells at him for being late. Lenny tells him he'll have to work late to make up for it, but Cameron refuses because it's his girlfriend's birthday and he wants to take her out to dinner. Lenny laughs at him, thinking he's lying. Meanwhile, a mysterious woman moves into house next to Cameron's. The moment we see her, it's clear she's no ordinary woman. She's clever and secretive. Back at work, a girl named Alice comes to talk to Cameron. She asks, "Do you really love Diana? Are you actually taking her out on a date?" Cameron tries to explain that he and Diana have been in love since childhood, went to school together, and are now planning to live together. After work, Cameron heads to Diana's house and sees her relaxing in the garden, sunbathing under the fountain. Just then, Charles and Jason show up and accuse Cameron of secretly taking pictures of Diana. Charles grabs his phone and throws it away. When Diana sees Cameron lying on the ground, she rushes to help him up and asks what happened. Charles tells her, "He was taking pictures of you. I told him to stop, but he didn't listen." Cameron tries to prove his innocence by going to get his phone, but as he does, Diana gets angry and scolds Charles, telling him to leave immediately. Cameron then heads home. That night, while in his room, his eyes drift toward the window and land on his new neighbor. He sees Victoria, the mysterious woman, undressing, and she seems to notice him watching. Flustered, Cameron walks away and joins his family for dinner. While they're eating, his father tells him he won't buy him a new phone. If he wants one, he'll have to buy it with his own money. Just then, there's a knock on the door. The whole family is startled. Cameron gets up and peeks through the peephole. Standing outside is none other than Victoria, his new neighbor. Cameron starts to panic, thinking she's come to complain to his parents because he just saw her. But when Cameron opens the door, Diana is standing outside. Cameron is completely shocked because just a moment ago, he had seen Victoria outside. When Cameron tells Diana that he just saw Victoria outside, Diana takes him to a pizza shop to cheer him up. Diana apologizes for everything that caused Cameron's phone to break. A little while later, Cameron invites his friend Martin to join them at the table, even though Diana had said not to. Martin's weird entrance and his stuttering irritate Diana, which confuses Cameron because he doesn't understand what Martin did wrong. When Diana drops Cameron off at home, she tells him that Martin used to harass her, which is why she hates him. Hearing this, Cameron doesn't find it particularly strange. Diana then says, "I still remember the night you came over and drank my dad's liquor." She tells Cameron that night, she wanted to tell him something she had never told anyone before, but Cameron had fallen asleep. Suddenly, Cameron sees Victoria staring at him. Terrified, he runs inside. Once back in his house, he nervously peeks out the curtain to see his neighbor again. He's shocked. Victoria is still watching him. But then Cameron becomes even more frightened when he turns around and sees Victoria standing right behind him. He immediately apologizes for seeing her without clothes, making up an excuse that he was actually looking at someone else through the window, and she just appeared in view. Victoria tells him, "Ever since I came here, my eyes have always been on you." Cameron opens his front door again, but Victoria says, "You're going to take me for a drive? That's your punishment for seeing her without clothes." Cameron replies, "I can't drive. My car isn't insured." Victoria thinks Cameron is trying to avoid her, so she gets angry and threatens, "Then I'll go talk to your parents." Reluctantly, Cameron takes Victoria near a building. There, she takes his car keys so he can't escape. Cameron stays in the car and watches as a man opens the building door for Victoria. She walks in, and the man follows. After a while, when she doesn't return, Cameron decides to follow her. Just as he's about to reach the door, the same man who went in with Victoria stumbles out. Limping, he pleads for help, but Cameron, terrified, shuts the car door. The injured man smears the car window as he continues to beg for help. Right in front of Cameron's eyes, Victoria bites the man's neck. On the way back, Cameron starts to suspect that Victoria is a vampire, but Victoria tells him, "If you refuse to be my driver, I won't like it because I've started to like you." Outside Cameron's house, Victoria kisses him and tells him he needs to trust her. The next morning, Cameron's dad, Hunter, asks him about the blood on the car. Victoria also shows up and explains that a wounded deer had run into the car the previous night. She tells Hunter that she knows Cameron's car insurance has issues, and she offers to pay for it on one condition: Cameron must agree to be her driver while she's in town. Cameron tries to come up with several excuses, but Hunter doesn't find anything wrong with the arrangement. Later, Martin confesses to Cameron that he dumped Diana at prom because he didn't know how to behave around her. Now he asks Cameron for help convincing Diana to give him another chance. That night, Cameron is sitting in a car outside a building, waiting for Victoria, who went inside. Suddenly, a lifeless body falls from above and lands on the car, shocking Cameron. Victoria finally returns to the car. Cameron quietly drives her home. On the way, he stops at a gas station and wipes the car windows. A few hours later, Victoria comes into Cameron's room and tells him it's time he knew the truth about why she's in town. She reveals that she's 247 years old. In 1890, a rival vampire pack killed her lover because he refused to join them. Most of the members of that pack moved to America over the last century, and some of them are now in this town. Victoria has sworn to destroy every last one of them. When Cameron learns that the people she's been weren't humans, he actually feels relieved. The next day, Martin asks Cameron to join him and Diana on a double date because he's too nervous to go alone. While on the date, Cameron is having fun with Diana on the street when Victoria unexpectedly sees them together and feels her. That night, Cameron asks Victoria how many vampires she still has left to kill. Victoria tells him that one target will be eliminated tonight, and there's one more she hasn't found yet, the elusive vampire who killed her lover, who is also the leader of their pack. She swears that his death will be painfully slow. Victoria urges Cameron to stay in the car for his own safety. But Cameron has started to enjoy being with Victoria and decides to go inside the building with her. Once they reach the basement, Victoria confronts her enemy. But just then, Cameron shows up and the enemy vampire fires a gun at him. Cameron falls to the ground. Enraged, Victoria immediately kills her enemy and rushes to Cameron, deeply worried. But then Cameron sits up. He was completely fine and had only pretended to be hurt. Victoria scolds him, telling him not to risk his life for her. As Victoria prepares to head home, Cameron tells her, "I want you to come with me on Martin's date tomorrow. That way, I can use you as an excuse to leave early and spend more time with you." The next day, Martin is on his date with Diana, and Cameron is there too. He tries to find a way to slip out early, but both friends try to stop him. They think the date will go better if Cameron stays. When Diana goes to freshen up, Victoria shows up and starts taking Cameron with her. As they walk away, Victoria asks Cameron who Diana is. Cameron quickly makes up an excuse, saying that Diana is Martin's girlfriend, but Victoria suspects that Diana is actually in love with Cameron. Cameron insists again that that's not true. That night, Cameron points out two guys, Charles and Jason, standing outside an ice cream shop. He tells Victoria that those two have been bullying him for years. Hearing this, Victoria pretends to be Cameron's girlfriend and walks over to them just to make them jealous. The two guys get angry and come at Cameron to fight. When Cameron starts getting beaten up, Victoria whispers something in his ear. Suddenly, Cameron feels empowered and knocks Charles to the ground. Charles ends up apologizing to Cameron in front of Victoria. Later, while sitting in the car, Cameron mentions that his hand got hurt. Victoria takes out a liquid from her necklace and tells Cameron to drink it. After he does, she tells him, "That was my Cameron freaks out and asks if that means he'll turn into a vampire. Victoria reassures him and says it was only to heal him. That night, while Cameron is thinking about Diana, Victoria shows up and tells him, "The only way to forget Diana is to make love to me." Cameron is tempted and they start kissing, but just then, Cameron's dad Hunter walks into the room and sees them together. Without saying a word, he turns and walks away. Cameron is falling for Victoria, but just before things go further, he stops her. He says he can't betray Diana. Victoria keeps trying to convince him, but Cameron refuses to make love to her that night. The next morning at breakfast, Hunter hints about Victoria, and Cameron just smiles back at him. Later, Martin shows up and starts complaining to Cameron about how his date went terribly. He begs Cameron for help one more time, but this time Cameron refuses to help. Around that time, Alice comes to see Cameron. She wants to get closer to him, but Cameron opens up and tells her everything about what's been going on. Alice wants to meet him again. That night, Cameron is getting ready to go meet Alice when his dad walks in and hands him a few packs, clearly guessing what Cameron might be up to. As Cameron steps outside, he notices a car parked outside Victoria's house. When he peeks through her window, he sees Victoria and Diana. When Diana goes upstairs, Cameron rushes to hide in his room. Meanwhile, Alice is waiting for Cameron. Back at Victoria's house, Cameron is shocked to see Victoria and Diana. Then the lights go out. From their shadows, Cameron realizes what's happening between them. The next morning, Cameron sees Diana walking out of the house next door, confirming she spent the night there. As soon as Diana leaves, Victoria appears in front of Cameron and sarcastically asks, "Did you enjoy last night's show?" Furious, Cameron says she crossed the line by involving Diana. But Victoria, sly as ever, says, "You and Diana were never going to work out anyway." When Cameron says he won't work for her anymore, Victoria gets angry and says, "There's still one night of work left." Later, Cameron tells Martin that he should go on another date with Diana, and this time he should finally confess his love to her. Then Cameron goes to the ice cream shop and tells the manager, Lenny, that he's quitting his job. Outside, Alice is waiting for him, clearly angry. As soon as Cameron shows up, she lashes out at him because he promised to meet her but never showed up. Feeling hurt, Cameron goes to see Diana. There, Diana tells him that Martin has already invited her on a date. Poor Cameron returns home heartbroken. At home, his mom gives him a new phone, but on one condition: he has to keep it a secret from his dad for a few weeks. Later, Cameron meets Martin and tells him to wear an earphone in one ear so Cameron can feed him lines and help him through the date. When Martin asks what he should say if Diana gets suspicious about the earpiece, Cameron advises him to say he's waiting on an important call from the baseball team. During the date, Cameron listens in and tells Martin exactly what to say, and Martin repeats everything word for word. Diana starts falling for Martin. She even gives him her car keys and tells him he can take her wherever he wants. Cameron, concerned, instructs his friend to take Diana home, but Martin ignores him and instead makes plans to go to Lover's Lane. Furious, Cameron follows them to the spot, hoping to stop the date. Hiding behind a tree, he sees Diana say something into her earpiece, then she throws it out the window. Diana had figured out Cameron was spying on her. Before Martin can confess his feelings, Diana sinks her teeth into his neck. Cameron is now convinced Diana is a vampire. Panicked, he runs to the ice cream shop. Moments later, Diana arrives. Cameron warns her to stay away from him because she killed his friend. Diana tells him Martin is still alive. She opens a storage compartment and shows him a man wrapped in a blanket. She explains that she didn't kill Martin. She only made him stronger so he could go pro in baseball. In a pained voice, Cameron asks why Diana kept her secret from him for so many years. Diana says she had planned to tell him everything that night during their school days when they were drunk, but he fell asleep before she could confess. When Cameron asks why she didn't tell him even after 2 years, Diana replies that she was afraid he'd react the same way he's reacting now. Then she finally admits that she's in love with him. She says that after everything she went through in her old life, she had decided never to let a mortal get close to her heart again, but Cameron had always been in it. As the two of them kiss, Lenny watches from a distance. That same evening, Victoria tells Cameron that she had always known Diana was a vampire, but she never told him because she knew he wouldn't believe her. Then she reveals something shocking. The vampire she's been hunting all along is Diana. Finally, Victoria tells Cameron that to defeat Diana, she will need to use him as bait. Sensing Cameron is in danger, Diana shows up at his house. Just then, Lenny steps out from behind a tree and says he knows everything and he's going to tell everyone. To silence him, Diana knocks him out and drinks his. Moments later, Diana and Martin enter the house and confront Victoria, who's holding Cameron hostage. A brutal fight breaks out between the two women. When Victoria slashes at Diana with a blade, Diana defends herself using a wooden tray and knocks the vengeful vampire to the ground. Diana climbs on top of Victoria and finally reveals what really happened 100 years ago. She says their pack leader was cruel and that she met Victoria's lover, who promised her safety in the pack and even gave her his blood. But when the ruthless master of the pack found out, he killed Victoria's lover. Hearing this, Victoria breaks down and apologizes. She says she's happy to have found another living member of her pack. They kiss and Victoria says, "Now we'll rebuild our family." As everyone is saying goodbye, Cameron turns to Victoria and says killing vampires was actually kind of fun. Then he asks Diana why she's leaving. Diana replies that it's time for her to move on. She knows Cameron doesn't want her to go, but she tells him he has his whole life ahead of him. After giving Cameron one last kiss, Lenny, now a vampire, jokingly tells Cameron to let Alice know she's the new assistant manager. Then the two women and Martin get in the car and drive away. The next day, Cameron tells his parents that he's decided to become a writer, and he'll mostly be writing about vampires. Outside the ice cream shop, he apologizes to Alice and tries to tell her everything that happened over the last 3 weeks. Alice doesn't believe most of it, but she does accept his apology, and that's how the movie ends.